Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a corset belt out of leather. The pattern that I'm using today I designed myself and I'm going to decorate it with some dragon scales. Let's get started.
First I'm going to trace my pattern onto some 2mm VAC10 leather. I use a normal pen for this. This will be cut off later so you won't see the ink. Then I'll cut it out loosely and afterwards I'll cut it out on the line. Now it's time to bevel all the edges. I do this for all the pieces of leather and I do this so that I can burnish it all smooth later. I wet my leather so that I can use my compass tool to put a nice border around all the pieces. I use my swivel knife to cut on the line I just made, and I hold my swivel knife in a 45-degree angle and I cut about 2/3 into the leather. Now I'm using my beveling stamp to tamp down the inside of the cut we just made. And I use my modeling tool to smooth it all out. I mark the middle of my leather to use it as a guide for the scale stamps. For the leather to accept stamping, this first has to be wetted properly. This is also called casting the leather. I use a sponge to wet mine. I use this line as a guide for the first row of stamps. I can now follow the previous stamps to finish the whole piece. You do have to line them up properly, which can be difficult at first, but with practice it should be fine. This whole process takes a while, but it's worth the effort. All that's missing is a nice border stamp. And now all the tooling and stamping is finished. As you can see, all the hard work of stamping all those skills has finally paid off. It is time for painting. With a few different colors I make a base marbling effect. I use burgundy, red and a brown tone to achieve this. I use a dabber for every color and I just splatter it around until I'm happy with the marbling effect. I want the inside to be a bright red and on the border I want a dark brown tone. For that dark brown tone on the edges, I use my dabber and I feather it out to the inside. Before using antique, I am first going to apply 3 coats of finish. I use a brush to put antique in all the nooks and crannies. After I let it sit for a few minutes, I wipe it all away with some paper towels. Preferably you leave this to dry overnight and then put the final finish on. Now I measure where I want my holes for my rings and rivets. because the pattern isn't straight on the edges, I first have to punch my holes on the base part. Afterwards I can line it up and punch the holes on exactly the right places. Before putting in the rivets, I first have to burnish all the edges to make it nice and smooth. Now I can put the rivets in and hammer them into place. The last thing I need to do is put the rings in for my lace, and it is all finished.
And that's how I make this corset belt. If you liked the video, please take the time to like and subscribe to my channel. And comment down below on what you'd like to see me make next. Bye!